Hello, my name is Lawrence Pugliese, and this is another episode of Stories, Wisdom, and Recipes. And on this episode, we feature poet, playwright, professor, among other things, Alicia Grega.
The power of three.
The power of three.
Charmed reference.
Yeah, I go with threes too. Yeah. Alicia and I, is it Alicia better or Alicia? What do you prefer?
It is Alicia.
Yeah,
My
that's what I
grandmother, Grega, calls me Alicia, and I will never correct her.
No.
But my mom says Alicia.
Alicia. Yeah. Sometimes I call you Allie.
I love that, yeah.
We've
That
known
means
each
we're
other.
friends.
That's right. We are friends. We've known each other for a long time, and that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. And we've shared some things over the years, in particular, the scene, the culture of northeastern Pennsylvania. I mean, you are one who's always been involved in the culture, the artistic culture in particular, but otherwise too. You're somewhat, if not an activist, though sometimes you are, you're definitely interested in movements and social issues and such. So you know the area, and you've written plays and produced them. You've gone to see plays and critique them for various periodicals. You're a professor, as I mentioned. So I want to get into a period of time that you and I shared when it was not professional so much. It was more personal, really. When we used to hang out with some good folks down in Scranton, Pennsylvania, on one block of Adams Avenue between Mulberry and Linden in the early 2000s.
The block maybe was longer than that if you look at the First Friday map. The early First Friday map, that first one where we started off on Lackawanna and then worked our way over.
That's true.
Yeah.
I just remember, the Monday through Thursday, you just be, because it was every day.
Potato soup Thursdays.
Where was that?
That was at the Bog.
That's right.
It was like $1. It was was the best soup. You used to just go and have a pint and a bowl of soup and then go home.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up the Bog, because that was really the epicenter of that community. Dare I say, sort of a movement, though it was not it just happened, that movement. A bunch of people came together.
The musicians.
Musicians and
kind
poets.
of pulled everyone in.
Yeah. And we hung out. We needed each other, it seemed.
We were making things happen. We were doing things. It was a really exciting time in Scranton that, as we were talking before the program, I think we can get back to that kind of energy here, that creative energy. I think that's definitely a post-pandemic possibility for Scranton.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on some very energetic young people that decide to stay here and not leave here. But I mean, that's always been a question for us.
Yeah.
But I think we can have that again, that original music scene where there were just bands, falling out of the sky. It seemed like for a while there.
And some of them made really big, like Tiger's Jaw. They were a bunch of 14, 15-year-olds. Now they pack the Brooklyn Bowl, you know what I mean?
I've had students with Tiger's Jaw shirts, right?
Right.
Have you?
Yeah.
The Menzingers. I was like, wow, you're really into local bands, aren't you?
Like, they're not just local, they're national, you know? But they were part of that scene, too, as teenagers.
Yeah, Cabinet's touring all over.
Cabinet, yeah. And we have people like Connor McGuigan, right? And a bunch of the stuff that he did with his puppets and his record playing, almost Andy Kaufman-esque, right? You could see him at his little gallery.
Test pattern. Yeah.
And he had the Extension Court Theater in the basement there where local people were putting on shows of their own writing,
Yeah, and art shows and poetry upstairs.
Right.
Yeah.
It was wonderful, and everybody hanging out, though, at the Bog, talking about these ideas, these projects. You know? Someone have a new CD out. And all
hoping you'd remember them the next day.
Right, exactly. One of the reasons I bring it up is lately I've noticed books being published about the downtown Manhattan scene, the East Village, the Bowery, CBGB's, all those different locales, Soho, people like McDermott, McGough, Legs McNeil. There's another guy, a cabaret guy, Jerry Geddes. He's going to write a book about the cabaret scene and the art scene with Andy Warhol and all that. And I started thinking about our scene. A lot of times small towns, small cities, we don't think of ourselves that as anything special, but we are.
Oh, yeah. Don't you have a copy of Scranton City Limits?
Yes, I do.
We took it very seriously.
You're talking about that was a play on Austin City Limits.
Yeah.
It's a CD of local bands playing beautiful original tunes.
Yeah, it's a DVD. There's
DVD,
video.
that's right,
Recordings
that's
of
right.
everyone playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, how much is this worth? No, I would never sell it.
No, that's priceless. Now,
Got a Brian Langan on the front.
Brian, he's down to Philly. We talked about a lot of those folks had to leave.
Yeah.
Because they needed to make some money as artists, and it's easier other places.
Yeah. Well, and good for them. I felt obligated to stay here to continue my children's, anchor in one location so that they could go wherever they want. One of them left, one of them didn't. One of them's coming back. So.
And one's a painter,
Yeah.
a really good painter.
Yeah. I mean, and she's talked about that before in the few interviews that she's done. That directly influenced by going around to all the galleries and
With
seeing
Mommy.
all the art. It was always art. We were either making it or we knew the people we were making it. We were participating in it. It was consuming at that point.
We're talking about Miranda, right?
Yes. Yeah. She starts at Boston University in the fall. She's getting her MFA in painting.
And she just she's coming from
California, LA, Los Angeles. Yeah.
UCLA, right?
Yeah. And her boyfriend, Mike Messina from Scranton, also a musician. I think he's recording an album this month in Colorado. He's hoping to get into music in Boston, and they'd love to come back here. We have to create that possibility, though, that will support artists and take them seriously.
I think one of the pluses, and it's always been there, is we're not that far away from Philly and New York. You could live much more affordably here, but then, Philly and New York, those are huge epicenters of art, of the art scene, of all kinds of art. You can go there, do your thing, and come back home,
Yeah.
There are people like Marco Marcinko, as a jazz cat. He lives here, and he's in New York City all the time playing.
Yeah.
And he comes home and lives in northeastern Pennsylvania. So it could be done. But when you have a family, it's a little harder.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was for me.
Well, you're a single mom. You had to make certain sacrifices.
Yeah.
I
I never sacrificed the art. I think it was just the level of what other people consider success that I might have been able to get to. It just wasn't as important as having that strong community for my kids.
Right. And some artists make a different decision.
Yeah.
They'll say, my art is first, my kids are second.
Right.
But you're still...
It's a valid decision, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's, to each their own.
Yeah.
You're
There's
still relatively
no
young.
one way to be a parent.
No, we're not judging anybody. We're just
Right.
making an observation that if you do choose to be second to your children, then your art might have to go on the back burner for a bit.
Right.
Or you have to live in a place that is more conducive to raising children than a metropolitan area where it's too expensive and so on.
Yeah, or you just have to change your ideas of what is important, your values. I feel that I love the art that we make in places like Scranton, in little places around the country where they don't have that clout or all those big names. So a lot of times you get to a point where the industry takes over the art and you don't really know what's authentic anymore.
Good point.
And I don't think we have that here.
No.
No one lives in Scranton because they're going to become rich and famous here. I say that all the time. They live here for some other reason, and they're still making art, even though it's not always the most hospitable climate. I think there are a lot of supporters of the arts. Lackawanna County Arts and Culture Department. I've been on the council for as long as Maureen's been in that position. I think like 14 years.
Yeah.
We do what we can.
Oh, I think we're pretty impressive
Yeah.
for the size of the city we are.
Yeah.
All the offerings we have, and the whole region, really, northeastern Pennsylvania. There's a lot of things to do culturally.
Yeah, and there will be more. I think that we weren't doing very well, before COVID.
Who was?
and
around here.
COVID made things difficult. Although we still had Fringe Under Glass, there were things being done.
You're talking about Scranton Fringe Festival, how they adapted
Yeah.
to the pandemic parameters.
Right, which
Yeah.
I thought was great. I love the traveling, procession kind of a show. It was a wonderful opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
So neat things came out of it. But
Yeah.
I see people returning to in real life experiences with an enthusiasm. I just did a writing workshop, and nobody really wanted to write. They were so happy to be in a room with other writers and just talk.
Yeah.
I was like, this is cool. People need this.
Yes.
They need to have experiences in a room with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting for you and me
Yeah.
to be sitting together at
Yeah.
a table to talking. Because over the years, we've been talking, but it's always been, either Zoom or on a phone. And it does feel good. There's something about it that is just...
Well, the energy.
Yeah, you feed off of it.
Right.
Yeah, and it's also companionship
Yeah.
that you get out of it. Sort of companionship that you can't get when you're in two different places physically.
Yeah. Yeah, you could sit in a space with another person and not even have a conversation, but just because of that proximity, something has happened
Right.
between the two of you, whether you're seeing the same things or hearing the same noises,
Right.
whatever it is, you're having a shared experience, even if you're making no effort at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw, how you watch those little videos sometimes on your phone when you're bored. I saw one yesterday, and it was beautiful. These two people, strangers, at a bus stop. Well, three people. And one person got up and walked into plexiglass because they thought it was open.
Right.
And the two other strangers were like, "Are you okay?" And the person was embarrassed, walked off. And then the two people sat back down waiting for the bus. And then they just looked at each other and started laughing hysterically. It was beautiful.
Exactly.
It was a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharing laughter with other people, that's medicine.
It is.
That's
is.
in ancient Greece, they built the amphitheaters right next to the hospitals.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, because the whole catharsis. I mean, that's a medical health thing that's happening physically to your body.
No doubt.
Getting rid of that, gook and negative stuff out of your psyche.
Yeah.
It's mental health.
It is, for
Theater
sure.
is mental health, you could say.
I interviewed this Broadway actress one time, Barbara Walsh, and she said in our discussion that the only thing that'll save humanity is art.
Oh,
and,
sure.
And then she's paused for a second. She goes, "I'm not kidding. That's the only thing that'll save humanity is art."
Well, that's the exciting thing about the whole AI threat. Artificial intelligence is artificial. It's not human. Computers don't have human experiences. We do. They don't have emotional responses to things.
Right.
We do.
Right.
And I love being able to really encourage my students now, like, you have to sound like a unique person.
Right.
With a voice that's having an emotional response to life, because a computer will never be able to do that. Not genuinely, not authentically. They could maybe fake it, but we know when things are fake.
I hope so. I think so.
Yeah.
And we go back. I want to go back to Adams Avenue, that
Right.
period of time when we were in our 20s and 30s. Young 30s, mid to late 20s. It's probably a range of about 10 to 15 years. When you look at all the regulars in that crew.
Right.
From that group, I think a lot of things came out of it that are still in some way existent in our community. Efforts at creating spaces, where you can put on a show or a poetry reading or play music. And younger people saw that and were inspired by it, and they continue it, or even some of the folks that are a little older, it has sustained them through tough times. Those recollections are that soul food, so to speak.
I just got a birthday postcard from John Bromberg.
I was thinking I wanted to mention, thank you for bringing him up. He's the man.
Yeah, he never forgets my birthday. It's fantastic.
He's
I'm
wonderful.
gonna have to send him something back.
He's in his mid-80s now.
Yeah.
And he's a significant person in our art scene in northeastern Pennsylvania for sure. And he comes from New York. He left New York to get out of the craziness. He was a very successful, as you know. I'm not telling you. I'm just saying this for the listeners.
I did every interview I could get. Yeah.
He was a very successful minimalist painter in New York. Made so much money, and so he had so much fame. It was driving him nuts. So he moved here.
Yeah. Yeah. He got involved in the happenings. I remember.
What was that?
The happenings.
Oh yeah. So John, he's another one, and I look at also though organizations like Scranton Tomorrow and the governmental institutions and organizations you mentioned, Maureen, that also try to help. Unico to create festivals and, the Scranton Jazz Festival. I better mention that, otherwise I'll get in trouble. From Mark, I'm one of the organizers of that too.
Yeah.
Lori Cadden and Bob Schlesinger and Meyer and on and on and on. There are business entities. There are just out of the neighborhood artists who have no designs other than I want to express myself involved, and you have nonprofit groups working together, to create some sort of culture, some sort of means by which the citizens can connect and communicate.
Yeah.
And I think we're lucky to have that, and we have to continue it.
Yeah.
And I have you here at the table with me because, again, you've been involved in that. As a
Sure.
kid, just trying to figure your life out, and also
Yeah.
as a professional, trying to understand art.
Yeah.
What do you think about, though, the folks that have been sacrificed in the process, in a way? Not on purpose.
Right.
That lifestyle, as we alluded to earlier, is hard sometimes. And we lost quite a number of people from that era in the early 2000s that hung out on Adams Avenue.
Right.
Mainly Bog home base, I mean Nicole and Timmy and Brian and Shane and Mike, to name just a few. I don't want to say their last names. People know who
Right.
I'm talking about. I loved all those folks,
Yeah.
and they were so important, and they had great big spirits and imaginations and
Right.
souls. Remember talking to those folks and
Yeah.
doing shots and drinking with those
Yeah,
folks?
and you see it in the obituaries all the time. There's a theme of this person that just lit up the room, that was so open and so alive, and that's hard to do.
It is.
It's hard to be open. It's hard to be vulnerable like that. It takes a toll, and I hope that things are improving in terms of learning about self-care, learning about mental health, and taking that seriously. How do we take care of ourselves so that we can stay open and vulnerable and be artists, right? You have
For
to be sensitive.
80 years,
Yeah.
90 years.
Yeah, because the people who manage to weather that know I need to go and chill and take care of myself and maybe not see people for a couple of days.
Right,
Maybe sit
right.
on my couch with the cat and binge watch some show. No reality TV, but
No reality TV. Yeah, and you did that to a certain extent. I did that to a certain extent. Many folks did.
yeah. After I left the paper, I was kind of like, yay, I don't need to know everything that's happening anymore. And then that started to get depressing. But I was like, I'm just going to learn how to take care of myself better, because I really was overdoing a lot of things. We're human. We're not superheroes.
No,
Yeah.
no, and we were excited to be around such great. It wasn't a negative thing.
No, not at all.
It wasn't like, drowning our sorrows. It was celebration.
Yes, and you didn't want it to end.
You didn't want it to end. Yeah, we're selfish maybe. But it's not sustainable physically or even mentally, as you mentioned, to do it
Yeah.
every day, day in and day out.
Some people do it better,
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
than I personally was able to do, but I've learned, I'm a little bit of an introvert. I need my downtime, and then I can go out and handle the noise and of the bar and the crowd and whatever, and leave early.
Right.
I don't need to stay up and watch the sunrise every day.
And you don't have to have like half a dozen drinks to feel comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Know when to stop.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's an art in and of itself.
Well, yeah, you have to learn there's a reason to stop,
Right. Yeah.
right? Before you go, oh, okay, I see how this works.
Yeah, folks that are we don't have a formula. So if you're waiting for one, we don't. Not at all. We know what extremes are.
Yes, it's all about balance.
Yeah, and they don't work.
Everything is about balance.
It is.
Really. Yeah.
It is. I'm so happy that we had that opportunity and that our city had such great individuals that were here back then, and they still are here now. We're just not in that scene.
Yeah.
And we need places like that, though, for people to come together, so that they can share ideas, they can
Yeah.
share their spirits and their souls and their minds and create things.
I'm hopeful there's going to be more of that. I was just at a winery in German along the river. It was beautiful. Band playing. It was like my uncles got everyone together. So it was a family thing. And I was just like, this is great. Where was this place? Why don't we have one in Scranton along the river? Somebody needs to open that.
Right.
It could happen. I think there's a lot of potential right now. Hopefully we don't let it slip away.
That was a good place maybe to wrap up our conversation.
Sure.
Alicia Grega, Allie.
What's your name on the show?
This show, it's Lawrence.
Oh, is it
Pugliese.
Lawrence?
My real name. I go by
Okay.
my real name, but yeah. She knows me as Larry.
Yes.
Yeah, once in a while I like to use the full name. But it's always a pleasure talking with you. And we can go on and on and on.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we will. We'll have you back on again if you want. Yeah,
If I can be of service, let me know.
for sure. I mean, this is stories, wisdom, and recipes, and you certainly
And I
have
didn't
them.
share any recipes?
Well, recipes for life.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, do you have a quick kolache recipe or something?
Quick?
I don't know.
The recipes are all up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She makes many great things. Every Christmas Eve, she leaves cookies at my house.
Me too.
Isn't that amazing? Without me seeing her. I just find them in a beautiful poem that you also write.
Yes,
and
not this
leave.
past year, but in the future there will be more poetry.
I love it. I love it. And it's great to have you as a friend and a peer in northeastern Pennsylvania. Thank you. Thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thank you.
We'll see you again soon.
Okay.
Thanks for watching Stories, Wisdom, and Recipes. Until next time, enjoy yourself. Go out and check out some art and enjoy this beautiful springtime weather.
Make
Thanks for
some
watching.
art.
Make some art.